kids didn't have anything to do with it. They're so precious. Nothing. They didn't have a chance.
Well, these parents lost their hearts today.
This probably is the worst I have seen.
Good evening and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French. Well, tonight we will take you to Newtown for the very latest, including two beautiful little angels laid to rest today. We will talk about what our leaders in Washington will soon fight over, the battle lines over what gun ownership should look like after this horrific massacre. And we will also get into whether or not the NRA will once again be able to roadblock reform. We also remember not just the victims, but also the heroes. And we'll get to all of that, as well as a special remembrance at Arlington National Cemetery. But first, I want to bring in TJ Winnick from Newtown, Connecticut.
Good evening. Officials say it is still unclear if Sandy Hook Elementary will ever reopen.
It was a somber day for many parents here in Newtown, Connecticut, who sent their students back to school for the first time since Friday's shooting. Sandy Hook Elementary remains closed, and a second elementary school was kept closed today for precautionary reasons.
I know a lot of people are nervous to be back at school. A lot of people really, a lot of people don't want to be here.
I think getting it back to a routine is the best thing.
There's no words, just tears.
At St. Rose of Lima Catholic Church, back-to-back funerals. As the service ends for 6-year-old James Mattioli, his small white casket is placed back in the hearse. Several minutes later, another tiny white casket, this one for Jessica Rakos, is carried inside the church.
It's hard to get your mind around it, you know, that someone so young would leave us, you know, in such a peaceful community over such a horrific event.
3 other shooting victims, Charlotte Bacon, Daniel Barden, and teacher Vicky Soto, also have services today. The body of 6-year-old Emily Parker returned with her family to her home state of Utah. In the neighboring town of Monroe, volunteers continue preparing Chalk Hill Middle School for the Sandy Hook students to attend.
We're going to work with everybody all through the process in order to provide everybody with what they need in order to get through this. That's what's truly important to us.
The criminal investigation is proceeding as authorities comb through every inch of gunman Adam Lanza's life, searching for clues that could explain what triggered Friday's massacre.
Sandy Hook Elementary students will likely begin classes at that middle school after the holidays in January. Reporting live in Newtown, Connecticut, TJ Winnick, ABC News. Now back to you.
All right, TJ, thank you. We're going to have more from Newtown in a moment. But first, 5 weeks. That's what the experts say is the window of opportunity to try to galvanize American attention in the aftermath of what can only be described as the mass slaughter of children and their educators. In the short attention span theater that is our national consciousness, we the people and we the media, we move on, whether it's to the next major story or weekly to stories that don't hurt so much. So how should this program and this country use the next month? It's a good question. The NRA, you can be sure, hopes that we simply move on like we've done so many times before. And today we hear that the gun lobby is already laying the groundwork to oppose any reforms to our nation's pathetic gun laws. If that is the legacy of the little angels in Newtown, this show shouldn't be on the air, and our president and his Congress should find another line of work. Thankfully, this time, I don't believe empty rhetoric will punctuate this massacre. The duck and cover of the NRA has been met by public polls of a fed-up America who've had it with the breaking news alerts of yet another mass shooting, a collective shrug from Washington, and even longer gun lines at gun stores. This time, at least I hope, but I believe is different. 20 little white caskets, they will tend to shock the conscience. Now, there will be those who trot out the pathetic, reflexive arguments that it's not the guns, it's the people. These are the same people who fought and succeeded in the last few years to let people on terror watch lists still buy guns. The same folks that succeeded in letting convicted felons get their guns back and making sure the mentally ill kept their access to firearms. These people, they are not the majority in this country. They are not to be taken seriously anymore, and They are not to be politically feared. If any politician is wavering tonight, I want to give you some free political advice. Just as I was sure that demonizing 40% of this country, demonizing Latinos, gays, and even victims of rape was a losing political strategy last month, I am just as sure standing by the status quo with assault weapons is a political loser. So, if not out of just basic decency, maybe out of professional survival, let us hope that you do the right thing. But forget the politics. As a parent, we all know that we can't protect our kids from everything. But we shouldn't accept an America where we have to worry about our children's elementary schools becoming massive crime scenes. We have to, we need to, make sure that we are a better country than that. All right, we're going to get to a lot this hour, but before I go to break, I want to leave you with the names of the young victims read by the President of the United States.
Let the little children come to me, Jesus said, and do not hinder them, for to such belongs the kingdom of heaven. Charlotte, Daniel, Olivia, Josephine, Anna, Dylan, Madeline, Catherine, Chase, Jesse, James, Grace, Emily, Jack, Noah, Caroline, Jessica, Benjamin, Abiel, Allison. God has called them all home.